Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Breedy, and I am a program manager of Alumni and Donor Experience on the constituent engagement team for the UC Alumni Association and Foundation. Thank you so much for joining UnCorked, the UC Alumni Wine Club, for tonight's virtual Build Your Own Cheeseboard event, Say Cheese with Tablespoon Cooking Company. As we get started, please remain on mute unless you are asking questions or we're engaging in open conversation, and feel more than free to use the chat function as well. Myself and then someone from Tablespoon will be monitoring the chat. A quick thank you to our Alumni Week sponsors, Geico, College Advantage, and Skyline. And wanted to quickly mention, we're currently partnering with our sponsor, College Advantage, to host a contest celebrating our alumni. The contest ends this Friday, so don't miss out on a great opportunity to share your amazing milestones to be entered in to win some great prizes. The grand prize is a $2,500 Ohio 529 College Savings Award. Just visit the website on this slide, alumni.uc.edu/milestone, and enter your milestone on the form, and that's it. Before we get things started with Jordan and Tablespoon, I'll pass things over to Jen Heisey, the Vice President of Alumni and Donor Experience for the UC Foundation and Alumni Association.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's program. More importantly, welcome to Alumni Week, which is the most exciting time of the year at the University of Cincinnati Alumni Association, as you can imagine. As Lauren said, I'm Jennifer Heisey. I'm the Vice President of Alumni and Donor Experience, and I serve as the Chief Alumni Officer for the university. For those of you who have attended in the past and are part of our regular UnCorked crew, welcome back. For those of you who are here for the first time, we are really so excited that you're with us today. This week, you joined one of this week's many virtual events and activities. We're uniting UC alumni and friends. Alumni Week is an annual tradition that brings us together to network with each other, learn new things, and celebrate the excellence throughout our alumni family. In the past, we really could only share this UnCorked experience with people in Cincinnati. And now we are sharing a bite and a drink with Bearcats from all over the world, which is really cool. And so we're excited about the opportunity to expand this, beyond, and we hope we can continue to do that in the future. I do, however, also invite you to check out our full lineup of activities at alumni.uc.edu. We do appreciate the support of our Alumni Week sponsors. As Lauren mentioned, Geico, College Advantage, and Skyline Chili are working with us this week and really helping make all of these fun programs possible. But most of all, we really thank you for being with us today. Really enjoy the time. You're going to have a great time with our fellow alumni and friends at Tablespoon. And please have some fun chatting and reconnecting with each other, whether that's in live when you have the opportunity or through the chat feature. And remember, we offer interesting programs and opportunities to connect year round. So please do stay in touch and join us again at another event soon. Happy Alumni Week. Go Bearcats. Jordan, you can take it away, I think.
All right, great. Well, hi, everyone. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us for this. I was very excited. This was a lot of fun for me to get to kind of put together and figure out. We haven't done a virtual wine and cheese class before, so I was really excited to get to do this. And I always love working with UnCorked. And I first want to acknowledge, I think we have a 92nd birthday celebrating with us today with the Kuhlman family. I got to meet her earlier when she picked up her kit. So happy birthday. This is a ton of fun. I can't believe you're celebrating with us. And we'll be sure to kind of have a drink for you in celebration, or maybe 92 drinks in celebration. I don't know, whatever works. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about an overview, just kind of what we're gonna do, and then we'll get started here shortly. So I think most of the people joining us did get kits from us, so that'll be great. That'll kind of streamline things. If you are providing your own ingredients, that works too. We will go over that, and I'll kind of, it's really just kind of a formula, so you can kind of work with whatever you have. We want to keep this really laid back and relaxed. So please, ask questions. I have Claire and Emily who are helping in the chat and with the cameras. One is a Bearcat, one is not. I won't name names, but so any questions can go in the chat. You can also just unmute and ask me a question. We just ask that, like Lauren said, stay muted when you're not actively talking because it gets really loud and hard to hear and all of that stuff. Let's see. So we do have 2 cameras. We have this one on me and we'll go back and forth. We have a Cheeseboard camera as well that'll kind of show my cutting board, and then we'll show the cheese board that we're going to be building. And beyond that, I think we're probably ready to get started. One other note, in your ingredient kit, those of you who got kits from us, we included a little gift, and that was just some of our chocolate chip cookie dough. So this is just a thank you from us. We include this with every class. They're really good. So there's directions on them. So you could bake them tonight. You could leave them in your refrigerator for a couple days, or you could go ahead and throw them in your freezer and then have them somewhere down the road. But that's what those are. So those, you could also just put raw cookie dough on as part of your cheese board. I would not, that's cool. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Okay, and joining us tonight, we also have TJ Snuffin from Skurnick, who is our wine expert. And actually, that is a perfect segue in the chat. So I will turn it over to TJ for a minute to kind of introduce himself. I don't know, TJ, maybe you want to give kind of like an overview of the wines, and then we can kind of come back to you throughout to talk about them more in depth, if that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jordan, for having me back. And I think this is my now 3rd time with UC Alumni. So I feel like you all are part of my family now, the wine family. So here we are. But yeah, we have 3 wines tonight that we thought would pair great with a variety of cheeses and accompaniments. And I would suggest that maybe we go white, rosé, and then red, or open all 3 and just like you would enjoy a cheese board, having a little bit of everything. It's fun maybe to have 3 wines side by side as well.
Cool. Great. Well, why don't we get started, and then we'll kind of come back to TJ here throughout, and he can share info about the 3 different wines with us. So in your ingredient kits, for those of you who got ingredient kits, we gave you a whole variety of things. They should all be labeled pretty nicely. We have 3 cheeses. We have a little bit of prosciutto in there, some crackers, some almonds, olives, some nice spring produce that'll give really nice color. And then we have some garnishes as well. So I have mine all laid out here. I would kind of recommend taking everything out of your box and kind of laying it out. I think it's good to see what you're working with. And then we are going to get started. So you're going to want some sort of plate or board. This is what I'm using. This was given to me as a gift, and I thought this would be the perfect time to use it. It's got our little logo on it. So I'm going to use just a rectangular board like this, but you can use, honestly, like you can use a plate. You can use, people do it like directly on their countertops if they're doing like a really big one. Any flat surface is going to work. I saw a cool idea where you can do it in like a Pyrex, like 9x13, and then you could put a lid on it and like easily transport it for a picnic or something like that. I thought that was really cool. So grab what you're going to use. Don't overthink it. You're not going to see it at the end, so you'll be good. Okay. And then we're going to start with our cheeses. I also want you to grab maybe a couple like ramekins or small bowls. So I just have, these are some things I have at home. If you don't want to and you got an ingredient kit, I mean, you could really just use, you could just open this up and put this right on your plate. So don't overthink it. But if you have a couple ramekins or small bowls, let's get those ready as well. So when I'm doing a cheese board, the first thing I like to do is I like to start with the cheeses, and I like to start with the ramekins or bowls. And I think that kind of helps like set the foundation, and then we'll kind of fill in from there. So if you want to grab your cheeses, you got 3 cheeses in your kit. And you're also going to want to have a cutting board and a knife handy, or I have like a big knife and a couple paring knives.
So what would you say is your rule of thumb as far as temperatures and cheeses?
The rule of thumb is like let them sit at room temperature usually for 20-30 minutes, just so they're not like chilled right out of the refrigerator. But you know, you don't want them to sit out for a ton of time or the texture is going to change. They might sweat a little bit, won't be as pleasant. So usually before you eat it, you want it to just kind of temper for maybe 20-30 minutes. Okay, so the 3 cheeses we're working with tonight. I tried to pick a variety and I tried to pick things that were all very approachable and that I think everyone will like. So nothing too kind of outlandish or complex. So the first one we'll go over is the Mount Tam from Cowgirl Creamery. Many of you may have had this before. This is a pretty famous cheese. This is Cowgirl Creamery's most popular cheese. It is a triple cream. It's soft ripened and it's made from cow's milk. So it's named after Mount, I'm gonna mess up the name, I wrote it down. Mount Tamalpais, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, but just north of San Francisco. And this is made in California. Beautiful cheese. Let's go ahead and just open that up and start with that one. This is a bloomy rind cheese. The rind is edible and it's meant to be consumed. It will give you more complex flavor and aroma. We'll talk a little bit more about these cheeses. I just want to give you a brief overview now, and then closer to the end, we can kind of talk about them a little more. All right, so let's place that on our board. And really with this one, I'm not going to cut it. I am just going to leave it on the board. And then, you know, while you're eating it, you can kind of grab a little bit out and put it on a cracker or just consume it like that. So I'm going to start, and again, don't overthink this. Just, you know, put this somewhere on your board how you like it. I'm going to go like this on its side actually, because I think it's going to be easier that way to eat. So this is technically the top here. So you could set it like that, but I'm actually going to put it on its side because I think it'll be easier that way for our guests to eat. And that's something to always think about when you're building a cheese board is like, okay, I could put something on there, you know, a big old wedge of cheese and it would look really cool, but will people be able to eat that? So you want to think about the function as well. Because I don't like when I get something and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but like, how do I eat it? Or like, I can't manage this at the moment. All right, and then let's grab our Juliana. This is from Capriole in Indiana. This is a goat cheese. So this cheese is a semi-firm goat milk cheese. It's aged, and when you unwrap it, you're gonna see it's really beautiful. So this cheese started as an experiment. Capriole had they had an intern, a Hungarian intern, who was playing around with one of their flagship cheeses, their old Kentucky Tome, and dusted the rind in this herbs de Provence and wildflowers, the dried wildflowers, and it was a hit and it became one of their most popular cheeses.
I just think it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's stunning on any cheese board. You really can't go wrong with it. All right. So if you want for this one, you could go ahead and maybe slice it so that it's easier to eat. So I think that's what I'm going to do. You know, this is there. I'm going to share in the chat a diagram that I found that I think it's really helpful for learning how to cut different cheeses, because there's so many shapes out there and there's kind of specific ways you can cut them. So I'm going to share it in the chat so you can kind of pull it up. Claire's got it. Okay. And again, we pre-cut these for you because we sent you kind of a portion thing. So work with it the way that you think would be best. I think I am going to do just little slices. And then I'm going to kind of shingle them out on the cheese board a little bit. But yes, so I looked at a couple of different of these today to find a good one to share. And I thought this one from Murray's Cheese was actually pretty helpful. So if you scroll through that, you'll see different ideas for when you have cheeses on how to cut them. So this one we kind of have, it was originally a round, which you would cut into wedges like we did. But now that we have a wedge, we could potentially lay it down and cut slices like that. So whatever works for you, you know, do what you feel good about. So I think I'm going to do that actually. And that will make sure that we have a little bit of that beautiful rind on each piece.
So is cutting the cheese in a specific way, does it do anything to the flavor, or is it just aesthetics? Or
It would
ease of
probably
eating?
depend. I think it's probably a combination of all of them. You
Yeah.
know, if it's a cheese where you're meant to eat the rind, then you would probably want to have a little bit of the rind in every piece to affect the flavor. And I think it's aesthetics and all of it. And then we can kind of put that out. And I'm going to just kind of maybe like shingle mine a little bit. Make sure I actually cut it all the way. And again, you don't have to do it like this. So one thing you could do is maybe you could lay them out. The fun thing about this is getting creative. There's no right or wrong. I'm sure if you ask someone, there's some proper ways to do all of this, but for us tonight, it's just about being creative and liking your final product. So maybe you could do a little, I kind of might do that because I like the look of that, especially so I can show the rind off a little bit more and get that piece right on top. Now, one rule of thumb is that things technically look usually, I shouldn't say technically because that's not really the case, but usually odd numbers are more visually appealing. So 3s, 5s are gonna look better than like 1 or 2s and 4s. And that's just, you know, while you are cooking, that's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay. If I'm ever going too fast or anything, just go ahead and tell me. This is a little different because we're not cooking, so hopefully my pacing will be okay. But okay, our next cheese is our lamb chopper. This is a sheep's milk cheese. This is actually produced in Holland, but then it is sold through Cypress Grove, which is also in California. This cheese, I really enjoy this. It's aged semi-firm sheep's milk. It is just super buttery, nutty. I mean, it's got some complexity to it. I would not call it, it's not like boring or generic or anything. It's just super palatable. I think it's really delicious. I really enjoy it. Even if you're someone who is not a huge cheese fan or you like something a little bit more mild, this I think is going to be just great to everyone. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. So let's go ahead. Now, one thing when we're picking cheeses, so we'll talk a little bit about picking cheeses and then we'll hand it over to TJ for a minute so we can, you know, really get into our wines here. So when you're picking cheeses for a cheese board, you know, it can be really overwhelming. There's so much out there. It's like, how do I pick? First of all, pick things you like. If you like it, you're going to be happy with your cheese board. Okay. And then second of all, you want to think about the types of cheeses you're using and try to get some variety. So the variety can come in the type of milk you use. So here we have 3 different types of milk. So it's going to give us 3, you know, different flavors. And then it can come in the texture of the cheese. So, you know, you could have a fresh cheese, something that has a high moisture level, like a fresh mozzarella or a burrata or something like that. And then you could have something softer, like our Mount Tam over here, our triple cream. That's a soft ripened cheese. And then we have, you know, semi-firm, semi-hard cheeses. And you could also do, you know, a hard cheese like a Parmesan or something like that. So by adding those different textures, that's going to add variety and interest to your cheese plate. All right. So with our wedge here, again, you could do, you know, really thin, skinny slices. You could also just kind of maybe cut this up into some little wedges or little like chunks of cheese if you want to do it like that. So then you can just eat them. Again, if we look at the Murray's, that cheese chart, there's a lot of different ways that you could do it. You know, pick what works best for you. I think I'm going to use my big knife and try to do some really thin wedges because I think that'll look good on my cheese plate. All right, and then while I'm doing that, I'm going to hand it over to TJ for a minute and he can talk about one of the wines.
Yeah, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about the white wine that we have in front of us. This is from a producer called Anselmo Mendez, and this is in an area of actually northern Portugal, right on the border of Spain. That's actually synonymous with the type of wine that we have. The region is called Vino Verde. For those of you who know Spanish or Italian, verde means green. And this is probably not what maybe first comes to mind when you think of Portugal or Spain. Most might think of a hot, kind of arid Mediterranean climate, but this is actually quite the opposite. It's really lush there, and the landscape is very green, and that's one of the reasons why they've named it like that. If you've ever been to San Sebastian or northern Spain, this is directly in the same longitude as that region. And so a little bit about the wine. We always talk about what grapes are in this wine, and these are actually 3 different indigenous Portuguese varietals. But if you're ever in a store, you'll never really see Luyero on the label, right? You'll see Vino Verde. And why did we choose the wines that we have tonight? I wanted to find wines that were great for the springtime, that would be appealing to a lot of different people's palates, and wines that are friendly with cheese, of course. And so if you've tasted the Vino Verde there, you'll notice that it's really light and crisp. This low in alcohol, and this is one of my favorite wines to drink in the summertime. It's great by the pool. This is a wine that you want to take right out of your fridge, maybe even put it in an ice bucket, and it's just supposed to be refreshing, right? This is a great happy hour wine if you just want something low in alcohol and light to enjoy after work. And I think that for those of you who are joining us outside of Cincinnati and maybe don't have Vino Verde, Jordan asked me, well, what can people find maybe everywhere? And certainly I think one of the other options would be Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. Also has a really kind of grassy green quality to it. And we were talking a little bit as well about choosing things that you love, right? So the same as the cheeses, the wines apply. Choose wines that you love, and then that your guests are going to love. That's the most important thing.
Great. How does everyone like the Vino Verde so far? I'm getting ready to taste it. That's good. Good choice, CJ.
Thank you.
Okay, how is our cheese looking? Are we looking good on the cheese front? Do we have our cheese placed on our board? I see some thumbs up. That's awesome. Everyone get it cut okay? And you guys, I also realized I didn't tell anyone to you can taste the cheese whenever you want. I just ate a little bit of it. Okay, so next, what should we do next? What I like to do is think about what we want to put maybe in a ramekin. So I have, if you got a kit, there's a few things we could do in ramekins here, and some of it's going to be up to you. The olives are definitely going to need a ramekin or a little bowl because they are liquidy. So we don't want to put those on our board and have the brine get all over other stuff. So let's think about what we want to do with our olives. We're not going to place them yet. We're just kind of planning for where they're going to go. So, one thing you really could do is if you want to just leave them right in this container, you can do that. Or we can try to figure out a different bowl for them to go in. So I think I'm going to use this guy right here and put my olives in that.
I have another cheese related question. Quantity wise, what would you say is the
so a general rule of thumb for cheese is going to be about 3 ounces per person. So that's what we did tonight. You got 2 ounces of each of these cheeses. And I know it doesn't look like much, kind of like when you're initially with the wedge, but once you get it on your board, you can see that it's a decent amount of cheese. Now, you want to take into consideration, if you're doing this for a party, you're having people over, what else are you having? If it's just an appetizer, you don't need quite as much. But if this is the main event, if this is supposed to serve as dinner, then you're going to want to bulk it up and maybe have a little bit more. Also, consider who's coming over and how much they love cheese. People have different appetites, and some people like cheese more than others. And also, what time of day is it? What have your guests been doing at another point in the day? If it's noon, that's going to be different than like
At 5 o'clock.
yeah, 3 p.m. or 5 o'clock when maybe it was, closer to a meal time. Like, but if it's at a meal time, have more cheese, bulk it up. Okay. So we put a little bit of apricot preserves in. I'm going to leave this just right in here because I think this jar is really cute. I'm a sucker for these like little like room service style condiments. So I'm going to leave mine in. I'll just I don't have to open it yet, but I can just kind of place it. If you wanted, you could put the grapes in a ramekin. I'm not going to because I want to kind of play with the grapes. And then the almonds as well, we might want to put on something. So maybe for the almonds, I'll use this little green just to give myself a little color. All right. And we can always play around with these. They're not set in stone, but we're just kind of like setting the tone. And this also helps because if we just start putting things on, you could end up with like 2 cheeses right next to each other and not having it properly spaced out. So this allows you to kind of see, where your things might end up. And like for me, I know that this bowl is green, but I'm going to put almonds in it, right? And those are going to be very similar in color to the cheeses. So I'm going to switch this because I want to have nice pops of color throughout. So I'm going to switch those so that I don't have a bunch of kind of tan or beige or like lighter colors right in one area. Okay. All right. Russell, do you have your hand raised?
I do have my hand raised. Thank you. Jordan, could you so the preserves, right? The apricot preserves. I love having something like this, but I always when I see this on a cheese board, I'm kind of like, what do I do with this? When you have a cheese board at a party, how do you serve this in a way that, all right, you leave this in this cute little jar, but then what are people putting it on and with what?
I feel So you want to have, that's a great question because I've had cheese boards before where I'm like, oh, this looks cute, but I'm not quite sure how everything goes together, right? So that's something that I keep in mind when for me, I'm food first. That's my mentality. So I want everything on my board to be edible and to make sense. And we'll talk about that a little bit more with the garnishes too. But so apricot preserves, this might also, this could be honey, this could be a different kind of compote or jam, but it is good to have a sweet element because some of these cheeses will pair very well with something sweet. So the Mount Tam, the triple cream is got a very once we try it, it's super creamy. I mean, this is not far off from butter. The butter fat on this is 73% and butter is usually 80%. So, we're pretty close to butter here. This is rich and different types of brie. Some will be sweeter. It depends on the type of yeast or mold used to make the rind. But the type that we're using today has a more and I don't want to say this to have it be off-putting, but this is going to have notes of mushroom and bitter greens and things like that. So it's good on its own, but having a little bit of sweetness on it is going to be fantastic because it's going to balance it and just play with it a little bit. So when we think about kind of wine pairing, how do different things play together? A cheese board is the same thing. These are pairings. So if we have a blue cheese or a cheese that has a more vegetal bitter taste, having something sweet like honey or apricot preserves is going to open it up to a new flavor profile. And maybe you don't like it on its own, but maybe with a little drizzle of that honey or the sweetness on it, it becomes much more balanced and delicious. And then how you eat it, we included crackers in all your kit and bread. So you could take a cracker, you could put a little piece of prosciutto on it, you could put a little piece of cheese on it, and then you could drizzle a little bit of the apricot or the honey on top, and then have a whole new flavor and combination. And then in terms of how you serve it, I have these little mini spoons, which are tasting spoons. This is just a plastic one, but they make little tiny spoons or a little tiny knife. And that is kind of what I would put out to have people scoop it out. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. I'm happy to talk more about it. Hopefully that's a good starting place.
Are you the type of person that if certain things go together, do you like to place them next to each other, or do you like people to kind of make it feel the creative liberty?
Well, I think one thing to think about is like, in my opinion, you shouldn't set people up for failure. So like nothing on this tray should be a bad combination. Like obviously I don't know how great like watermelon radish and like apricot preserves is. Like that could be pushing it a little bit. I don't know, maybe we'll try it and see. But you know, don't put things on here that would be like awful. Make sure everything can kind of play nicely together. And it would be a good idea. I mean, you could always put like a little sign. I mean, if you're having a party, you could put like, try this with this. I don't know. Okay, let's move into our prosciutto.
Question?
Yeah.
As a follow-up to the preserves, so is there a reason why you picked apricot specifically? And I mean, I've seen, for example, and we use fig preserve on top of particularly like blue cheese, things that are really very strong cheeses. A reason why you picked apricot, and do you prefer one type of, you know, preserve over another?
I picked apricot. I wanted to find something I could get in these 1 ounce jars. And I think my options were like apricot, grape, and something else. So to me, I thought apricot would be nice. I'm trying to keep this somewhat seasonal. So I had that in mind. I believe apricots are in season right around this time. And I just thought it would play well. And honestly, like sometimes when I'm picking stuff, I just pick what I like because it's easier for me to talk about it if I like it. But fig would be great. I think I have some fig jam in my refrigerator right now, which would be beautiful. Honey would be great. If again, like play with what you like. So like if you hate grape jelly or grape jam or grape preserves, like you're not gonna like it on a cheese board, you know? So really we're just going for the sweetness here. And I think the apricot is a little bit more mild of a flavor where it will play nicely. Great question. Hopefully I answered it. I kind of wanted to do like apricot or honey. I thought those would be nice with everything. And when I do an event for like a wide group of people, I try to pick things that are relatively palatable and approachable for most people. So, you know, play it a little bit safe. Okay, so let's do our prosciutto. If we're using prosciutto, or if you have another salami you're using, I grabbed some pepperoni as well because I had some. And next we want to use this. So choosing meat for your tray. You know, you can totally do this without meat. That is 100% not a problem. But a lot of times people do like to use some sort of charcuterie on their board. All sorts of options here. And what we want to do is kind of use this to create some definition through our board. So use it to kind of create areas, because the next thing we're going to go in is with protein. When we're doing the prosciutto, you know, this is sliced and it will come in different thicknesses, but I like to kind of take it and I want to layer it and kind of fold it in a way that creates some dimension. So I don't just want to put like pieces of prosciutto like that on my board. I want to kind of play with it so that I get some depth and some height and kind of like lay it around and maybe create like a little ripple effect. And we can just kind of do this. I'm going to kind of snake it around my board to create a nice little like barrier almost. There's a really popular Instagram account called I think it's called That Cheese Plate, and also Cheese by Numbers. And I have her book, but she does this with salami and refers to it as a salami river. So kind of think about that, how it's like kind of snaking around, and this will end up looking really pretty. But the important thing here is to just kind of create little like a ripple effect, and you can curve it across your board. You really want it to go from one side of the board to the other. You can also do little piles if that's working best for you. If you do not eat pork or you're not using this, you can do the same thing with a cucumber, or we can do it with our watermelon radish, which I'll show you. So I'm just kind of snaking mine around. Kind of going in a straight line. So I'm going to kind of curve it a little bit more just to make it a little more interesting. And I brought some pepperoni just so I could show you how to fold little like pepperoni like or salami like rosettes, or to do the river with that.
So what's your take on if charcuterie is like meat and cheese, just cheese?
Oh
Because
man, I
some
think
people-
it's technically just meat. Like a cheese and charcuterie board would be cheese and charcuterie, but
Mhm.
you know, it's used as all of it. Kind of sneak some right under the cheese there. All right.
Let's see, any substitutes for those that don't eat pork?
Yep. The watermelon radish would work great once we cut it here in a minute. And if you have a cucumber, that would work great. You could really take the grapes off the of the stems and do that. You could do the sugar snap peas kind of in a little thing like that. I mean, truly
I'm trying to
it's,
think of any kind of like meat substitute.
yeah, they are making now like there are some
Beef salami.
there's some beef salamis, but there's also like fig salamis that are out there now for a vegan
Oh.
substitute. I haven't tried them, but I've read about them. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna eat the rest.
So hi, we keep kosher. So
Yeah.
obviously we did not take the prosciutto.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't think ahead of time to defrost this, but I have it's called Very Good Pepperoni by Very Good Butchers, and it's all plant-based
Oh, cool.
meat.
That's awesome.
Equivalents.
Meat equivalents. I've actually made vegetarian pepperoni before, but I wanted to try this one. So I would do the salami river with this.
Very cool. That's perfect. Yeah, and I meant to say earlier, I mean, there are now a lot of vegan and dairy-free cheeses out there. We've been, you know, we have a lot of customers who come in who have allergies or preferences. So we're always trying to find like good substitutes. And there are so many out there now. So, you know, just be on the lookout because there's definitely anything that we're using here. If you're not a fan or can't eat it or don't want to eat it, there are 100% other options out there. Okay, and I'll just show you if you have something like this, a salami, or something like circular, I'm going to show you how you can fold it. So what you want to do is take it, and then we're going to do it in half, and then in half again, so you get that little ripple effect. And then you can kind of do a couple of these, and if you want to do like the river of these, same idea. So I'll do a couple, and then I'll kind of like stack them together and press them so they kind of stick, and then we'll put those down on the board. And I just grabbed these from the kitchen so I could just show you this. I mean, you could definitely, like something you could do is you could do kind of some of these like following your prosciutto. Should look kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to take a second here. Maybe TJ could talk about the rosé or the red, whatever one he wants to talk about while I build my little river here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking a little bit about, you know, pairings within the board, and I think that's a great segue to also talking about food and wine pairing. And, you know, one of the best ways to kind of learn and explore that is through a meat and cheese board with some accompaniments, because you can take a little sip of wine, grab a little piece off the cheese board, and then have another sip of wine and see how they interact together. And I think that's what's one of the most fun things to explore when you're having a party or making something like this, is to, you know, explore the different interactions with the different wines that you have, and also the combinations with on the board itself. So we'll talk a little bit maybe about the rosé. This is the 2020 Pinot Project Rosé. This is a wine that is represented and owned by the Sternick brothers, who are the owners of my company. And the goal behind you may have seen Pinot Project Pinot Noir or Pinot Project Chardonnay. Within the market, the idea behind this is to make wines that are varietally correct, ones, you know, that are not chemically altered in any way, and that are affordable. And so, you know, you may be wondering why 2020 vintage. There's a lot of, you know, talk in the wine world about the fresher the better with rosé, and certainly I think that that applies to this one. So if you're opening that, this is a rosé of Pinot Noir, and rosé is made from red grapes, where they gently press the grapes, the juice runs through, and it has just a few hours of contact with the skins to give it the color. So, you know, this has like a beautiful, like really light pink hue to it. So there's only a couple of hours. This is made from 100% Pinot Noir. And this is meant to be drunk really young. This is not something that you would want to cellar, or, you know, 95% of all wine that's purchased in a store is drunk the same day. So this is certainly applies to that. And, you know, as I was kind of exploring and tasting some of the things that were in the kit from Tablespoon, I was reminded of a trip to California and Sonoma. So the Mount Tam greenery, like Jordan said, is from just north of San Francisco. And if you know the geography, this is where Napa Valley is, and also the Sonoma coast. So that, you know, if you happen to see Pinot Noir Rosé, we always have this kind of saying of what grows together goes together. And so certainly this cheese pairs really well with Pinot Noir Rosé. The one that we have actually is from southern France, an area called the Languedoc-Roussillon. This is kind of, you know, the kind of Wild West of France, if you will. There's not a whole lot of famous winemaking regions, but there are also some really great values that you can find in this area. And this is what we would call a Provincial style rosé, or from Provence. All along the coast, you have cities like Montpellier and Narbonne. And this is sourced from a variety of different vineyards. And it's supposed to have a really kind of juicy watermelon kind of, you know, a little bit of tartness, almost a bubblegum kind of flavor that you would get from Beaujolais, really fresh and juicy, great for the springtime. And I think pairs really well with the Mount Tam that Jordan selected. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, and I can also respond to those as well.
Oh, I love this rosé. We've been serving this in class for a little while now, and it's just like refreshing and delicious and great. And I love the bright pink label. It's cute. Okay, cool. How are our prosciutto, salami, rivers doing? Are we looking good? Does anyone need more time? Are we ready to move on? Cool. Great. Thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get now into our produce. A lot of different things we can do here. So I wanted to just pick some fresh fruits and vegetables that would taste really great together and kind of add a nice pop of color. So we have some strawberries. I try to keep things pretty seasonal. You know, strawberries we're not quite there yet, but these came in and they looked really beautiful. A tidal pool, that is, yeah, you can't go wrong with that. I like that. Okay. So we've got some strawberries, some sugar snap peas. I thought that would just give a nice, fresh, super spring flavor. And also, like, I was really going for aesthetic with a lot of this. So I wanted bright colors. We've got a watermelon radish. So if you haven't worked with one of these before, these came in very large from our purveyor. So we might need to kind of cut it down a little bit. But these are just so beautiful, and I absolutely love putting them on any sort of like veggie board or cheese board because it's just pretty. So let's start there. We have sugar snap peas and grapes. So I think the sugar snap peas, really, we don't need to do anything to. We can just kind of put those on as is. The grapes, we can either put on in like a little bunch, or we can, if you want, you could take them off the stem. So you could either kind of put them on like a, you know, like one bunch like that, Or if you want, you could pick them all off and do it that way too. We don't have to decide that quite yet. So when we're working with our produce, we want to think about kind of like little like pockets of produce or pools of produce all over. We want to provide color here and different texture, you know, so we have a lot of different shapes and textures and colors going on here, and that's just going to add interest and make for a more beautiful board. Now, we are keeping it pretty simple tonight and just using really nice, fresh produce, but you can treat your produce, you can do different things. So if you have something like, if you wanted to put fresh asparagus on here, I might consider like really quickly blanching it. You could do pickles on here. So different pickled vegetables, do a quick pickle. You could, if you wanted like a sweet element, you could dip your strawberries in chocolate. Think of it as, you know, get really creative with it. There's no boundary here. Yeah, and then this is really, I think, where it's a good idea to think about how your guests will eat it, because we want to make sure everything here is, most of the time when you're getting a charcuterie board, like it should be one bite sort of things. Like you shouldn't need a knife and a fork to eat it. So keep that in mind, especially when we start getting the produce on there. I'm going to start with the watermelon radish. If you have a mandolin, it would be a nice time to use it because we want to cut this pretty thin. I don't want to use a mandolin on Zoom because I feel like when you use a mandolin, you should be very focused on just using the mandolin. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna use a knife. And since these are pretty large, I'm gonna cut them in half. So we're gonna have little like half moons. Now we cut these in half to send them to you. So this part, this outer part of the radish is a little bit oxidized. So I'm gonna cut that off first, just so I get a fresh layer, and it's gonna be a little bit brighter in color. There we go. See, look how much more vibrant that is. It's just so pretty. I love it. All right, so we'll get rid of that oxidized layer. And then I'm going to cut this in half, I think, to start. And then just cut thin slices that I can put on my board. And you could even, if you decide it would fit better on your board, you could do quarters. So just nice thin slices. And if you did not do a prosciutto river, or if yours, you know, was a creek or a tidal wave or whatever, you could always do the same kind of river technique with this. I actually might cut mine into quarters because this looks pretty, but I think it's just kind of like big for my board. We'll see. There's also no reason you couldn't do both.
Oh yeah, do a little visually dynamic.
Yeah. And I hope you guys are taking pictures. I would love to see some of your progress photos or your finished boards. I'd love to see what you come up with because they're all going to look different. Even though we're all working with the same stuff, they're all going to look different, and that's what's really fun about it. And taste your ingredients as you go. So, you know, we don't want to use this if we don't like it. Good crunch, bright, springy flavor. And they're just so pretty. Oh, as I drop mine. I think I might do quarters. I just feel like quarters, where I'm at right now, I think it's going to fit a little bit better. Up to you. You know, radish is really nice on a board like this because it has a little bit of bite to it.
Oh, doing
great.
pickling.
Yeah. That's perfect. So the radish has a little bite to it. You might kind of call it like spicy, which is nice because we have a lot of richness on here, right? We have a lot of fat, we have a lot of richness. So having something like radish will really provide a nice contrast. So it will help like refresh your palate while you're eating all this so it doesn't get like weighed down. Let's see. Yeah, it's so crispy and nice. I just love it. I think I might do something like this. Might do a couple, and there's no reason you can't do like a couple different little piles at different places on your board. And everything we're doing today, if you want to make like a fruit board or a vegetable board, like same principles apply. I used to have to make fruit and veggie boards every day at one of my jobs, and I really got into it.
Where would you find watermelon radishes?
Whole Foods should have them. Kroger should have them. Like somewhere like Findlay Market might have them. Green Bean Delivery, Madison's at Findlay Market. ETC may have them. If you really want them, just tell us. We can order them for you from our purveyors.
Do you eat the skins or just the insides?
I eat, if the skin is very, very thin, I think it's fine to eat. Like the one I just had a bite of it and it was the whole thing. So a little bit of a choice there. You know, with the skin, it's really just a textural thing. Like it's not going to hurt you to eat it. It's just like, does it taste good? And since I'm cutting mine so thin, I think for me, it's fine. Okay. So then with the strawberries, I'm going to show you a couple different ways to cut the strawberries. And that way we just kind of know, we'll kind of get all this filled in with the produce here shortly. So with the strawberries, a couple things you can do. One would be you could make little fans. Well, actually 3 things you could do. One is you could just really put them on whole, you know, and just do little piles of strawberries. The second thing we could do is we could do little fans. So I like to kind of take the leaves at the top and kind of pinch them so they stay out of the way. And then I sometimes kind of twist them. And then we can cut using like a small knife almost to the top and do like really thin little cuts. And then fan that out. And we could put that on there. A couple of those. Another thing you could do with the strawberries is just cut them in half and kind of place them on like that. Do a combination. I think I'm going to do a combination. And I like to pick things like, I want my cheese and charcuterie board to be like filling. Like I want it to have fruit, vegetables, meat, cheese. Sometimes I think we get into the territory where they're really beautiful, but maybe not as functional. And there's definitely, you know, a time and a place for that too. But when I'm doing them, I'm like, I want to be able to eat it. And at the end of the day, just make it stuff that you like and have fun putting it together.
I think that goes for so many things. Like what you were saying, you can be so much more passionate about it. Like if you choose what you like, and hopefully you aren't super picky or like niche things, but yeah,
there's no right or wrong here, and like it can be a ton of fun to put these. Like I find this to be really creative, and like I'm not super artistic, but with this I can do okay. So I like feel good about myself. I'm like, oh, I accomplished something.
Oh, you're very artistic. I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
Ugh. I'll show you some of my high school artwork. I did show you some of my high school artwork.
It looked great. I'll show you my high school artwork, and it was not good.
How's everyone doing? Do we have any questions while we're getting our produce on there? Has anyone tried any of the cheeses yet? I would be disappointed if no one's tried, like, snuck any bites of the cheeses. Do we have favorites? Do we have any that we don't like? That's okay too. All right, I got one more strawberry. It's looking pretty good. We ate everything in the wine. You must be feeling good then, or pretty bad. I'm not sure. I'm looking pretty good here. All right, great. So with the snap peas, I'm just gonna do those in kind of little piles. Now, technically you could clean these. So there's a little like string you can pull off if you want. I never do it very well. This was when I was in culinary school, we got in trouble and our punishment was cleaning a bunch of peas and fava beans. And it was awful. I just had to sit there for like 3 hours and just like peel. So you can take the little string off. I think these are fine. Like I ate one earlier. It's not tough or anything. These are nice. These have a little bit of sweetness to them. It's really nice. So let's go ahead and just maybe put these on like in little piles and start like filling in where we need like color.
Which would you say is worse, doing that to peas or shrimp?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Both are bad.
Yeah. Both are bottom of the totem pole. Crap.
Russell, I like the lamb chopper a lot too. I just think that's a great. One of my favorite cheeses is called Hallerhacker. If you ever have a chance to try that, it's so good. I think they normally have it at the Rind. But the lamb chopper reminds me of that like a little bit. I love cheeses that are like nutty and just mild and buttery and really good. Just kind of filling in the space here. And then I have my grapes as well. So I think personally, I love the look of like bunches of grapes, but I think it's harder to eat because like then you're like pull, you know, so what you want to do is you might want to trim them. You could just use like scissors or a knife and you could trim them to like little like 3 to 4. Oh, well, that didn't work, but put them in like little bunches so that when someone grabs it from the tray, they're grabbing like 3 or 4 grapes. Because if you've ever been somewhere and there's like a fruit tray or a cheese tray and you have to you go to grab a grape and you get like a whole like bunch of grapes, that's like, do I eat this? I don't know. So I'm gonna just like, I think take mine off because I think it's gonna fit a little bit better on my board because I'm getting pretty full here.
Yeah, I hate it when you pick it up and you get like a whole bunch.
I know.
And you're like, I'm feeling like a painting right now.
It's awkward. And then you're like, yeah, it's weird. But so I like to take them off. I like the way it looks like on the, you know, on the stem in like little bunches, but I don't think it's as great for eating. So I'll just take mine off. And I'm just filling in the spaces here. And like, here's a good example. Like, so I don't know, this is a little bit off camera here. Let me see. Like my grapes really kind of blend in with my prosciutto. So I don't love that. So I'm gonna move those and maybe put them, you know, by like the cheese so that it's a little bit more contrast. And you might not end up using like every single thing. You don't have to crowd it, but the snap peas are good for kind of like filling in the edges and giving little pops of color as well. Getting pretty full here. Another strawberry that I want to definitely use. And remember that idea that things look better in odd numbers. So like here I have like a group of 3 strawberries. We had 3 cheeses. And if you're running out of space, just eat whatever you're trying to place and then it'll solve that problem. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. I've not actually done the crackers yet. So I'm gonna show you a couple different ideas for the crackers. TJ, would now be a good time to talk about the red?
Sure, of course. So the first thing that comes to mind when we were choosing these wines is all about what's in season. And I think that just like, we tend to eat seasonally, a lot of us tend to drink wine seasonally as well. And so for a red wine, we chose the Vichy Rosso. This is a blend of 80% Merlot and 20% Sangiovese from an area of the Marche, which is just south of Tuscany. a little bit more east and right off the Apennine Mountains. The reason why we chose this is this wine is completely fermented in concrete, no oak at all. So it's really very fruit forward and juicy. I also like to drink wines in the summertime and the spring with a slight chill on them. So, this is a great wine that if you have a charcuterie board before dinner and maybe you're outside grilling on your deck, just get a bucket of ice and set this red wine like this with no oak on it right on top of the ice, and you're maybe outside, and it's really just a great way to enhance the wine, because the temperature of the wine, just like the cheese, is really important. When wine gets too hot, especially in the warmer months, it tends to the alcohol presence really tends to stand out, or wines might be considered hot, or when you take a sip of them, they kind of burn the back of your throat. And that happens when they get too warm. But yeah, this is, like I said, from an area in the Marche. It's right on the Apennine Mountains. It has a great coastal influence. The Bisci family, they're really farmers. This is was founded on about 30 hectares of land that was an ancient farm in central Italy. And a little bit about the term super Tuscan. You may have heard this before. There are some really famous ones from, Antinori, like Tiganello, etc. But this is a little baby one. And super Tuscan means basically Bordeaux varietals. That would be Cabernet, Cab Franc, and Merlot, and a couple others that are either blended together from, central Italy, or often blended with Sangiovese. And these are a great summertime red. They go with a variety of different salumis. They go great with tomatoes that are coming in, and certainly with any kind of grilled meats that you may be enjoying this summer as well.
Great. I love this wine with a slight chill on it. I think it's so good. I love chili reds.
We had a question come through the chat. It looks like it was sent privately. So Jim and Pat asked, how about pineapple, and what wine would you choose then?
Yeah, that's a great question. Pineapple itself is typically a little bit sweet and often has a great kind of like acidity to it. So it might be fine to find a wine that is maybe complementary to that. So I would recommend either Viognier, which is from southern France, or a Chardonnay with no oak on it, which you can probably easily find. And that will probably really complement that particular fruit.
Cool. Great. Okay, so we are now on to crunch. So, you need something on your board to eat the cheese with. We want some carbs on there. So a lot of different ways you can go with this. Crackers, you can do, like, in terms of carbs, crackers, baguette, crostini, any sort of bread, water crackers, pita bread, whatever you like works. We can try to fit some on our board. That'd be a great way if you have extra space to fill it in. The other thing you could do is, hey, Moppy, would you mind closing that blind? I just got, the sun's changing. I think the time of year is changing, and usually we don't have a sun problem, and I'm getting blinded. So one thing I like to do is do a side plate with all my breads on it, because I think the bread can take up valuable space on your board, and you might not want that. So you can always do a little side plate and have like a cracker plate or a crunch plate, whatever. We're using the Crunchmaster crackers. Crunchmaster, we're working with them right now at Tablespoon, and everyone who takes our classes gets a bag of the Crunchmaster crackers. They're really good. They're actually gluten-free. I am by no means gluten-free. These crackers happen to be gluten-free, and they're delicious. They're actually, if you go on their website, it's really cool how they make them. They are based on an ancient Japanese tradition of making rice crackers. And we have everyone we had some different flavors floating around. But if you're joining us from outside of Cincinnati or you didn't get an ingredient kit, you should have got a coupon so you can get a bag of these as well. They're available at Kroger. I think what I'm going to do is I have a little ramekin, so I'm going to put some crackers in my ramekin and then keep the rest on the side. There's so many interesting crackers out there. Like, I mean, I love like a Ritz cracker as much as the next person, but there's also some that can contribute different flavors and textures to your board as well. There's like those what are they called? Rainforest crisps. Those are interesting. Effie's oatmeal crackers. I have some of those in my pantry right now. You can get those at Whole Foods. Those are so good.
You know, down with the club cracker.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In terms of where to buy some of this stuff, you know, we talked about Findlay Market, we talked about the Rind. I think that the Kenwood Whole Foods has a really nice little, right when you walk in to the left, they have like, I went there one time and I accidentally spent way too much money because they just had it all. It was so easy. And I was like, oh, I'll take one of those, take one of those, take one of those. So that is like a one-stop, real easy place if you're just trying to do it quick and on the fly. You can get everything like right in one little aisle. Okay, so I put my crackers on. Next, I'm going to start filling my other ramekins. So I'm going to do my almonds in this guy. These are Marcona almonds. Pistachios work great, pecans, whatever kind of nut you like. I don't really recommend, I don't love using just like a raw nut. I would do something to it. So toast it, roast it, season it, candy it. That's my preference, but up to you. Okay, I'm gonna open up my little apricot preserves, get that going.
So if you were gonna make like a crostini on the side, what would you do like to prepare that bread?
I would just cut it really thin, put it in the oven until it was crisp. You could do some olive oil, salt and pepper. You could do any sort of herbs you like. All right, and I'm gonna add one little ramekin, another one for my olives. I like to have some sort of like pickled or briny thing. So we're doing Castelvetrano olives. I feel like I'm crowding my cheese. I need to take some vegetables off or rearrange. So I'm gonna do some olives. These are my favorite. I like these a lot. And then we have one more thing. And that is garnish. So for today's garnish, we have some edible orchids to give us a nice, bright, beautiful color. So any sort of edible flowers would work. Herbs also work really well. Like fresh herbs, thyme, rosemary. You could do basil if you had a nice plate with like mozzarella and tomatoes and things like that. There is like a rule of thumb, you know, anything you put on your plate really should be edible. So these flowers are edible. I don't find them to be very delicious. You could eat them if you wanted to, for sure. But
I was gonna say you're not gonna prove it.
I am not gonna eat these. You could. I don't feel the need to. But you know, you do want to pick things that are edible if you would be compelled to eat them. And I like, so right in here, I'm kind of going in where I notice either I have a blank spot that I want to fill in, like right there actually is a good one. Or where I have like, by putting the pepperoni and the prosciutto next to each other, that's kind of like a bland area in terms of color. So I might kind of do one of my flowers in that area to kind of brighten it up. Actually, I like that. And then I'll put a couple more. Oh, the boys ate the flower. Good. Let me know how they liked them. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with mine. This looks pretty good. I feel like I'm pretty full up here. I don't have any like major areas that, you know, are I think I look good. How are you guys doing? How's everyone doing? We can kind of open it up to questions. comments. You can show us, maybe if anyone wants to show us their board, we can like spotlight you. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Jonathan Bernstein, I do not know and I do not want to know. But as long as you're having fun, calories don't count. That looks great, guys. Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
Oh.
Love that. Love like the little glasses to give it height. Great idea. The cheese, we ordered the cheese from our purveyors. So I would say the best places to get these, let's see, you know, the rind is great. There is also, I mean, Whole Foods has a good cheese selection. Other places to buy cheese.
Costco.
Oh, Costco has a really nice cheese selection. It's gonna be bigger producers, but great place.
I also kind of like all these cheeses.
Oh.
Like if you're looking to feed the masses,
Yeah.
they're very price conscious, good cheese.
Okay, Aldi. I don't know. You guys can tell us too where.
Oh, look at that. Barbara and Rob.
Oh, nice. So good.
So, Jordan, we live in Atlanta, and if we were in Cincinnati, we would certainly buy the kit because we love what you've done, and your guidance was really helpful. So I just used what we could have here. Barbara is sensitive to cow's milk, so I used only goat cheeses.
Perfect.
We had a Netherland Kaas aged cheese and goat Gouda and some goat brie, and use all your suggestions. So you did a great job, and we want to thank Jennifer for arranging this. We would do this anytime with you. So sign us up for the next one.
Let's do it. Thank you so much. I'm glad you were able to join us from Atlanta. That's exciting. And good job, you know, just getting what you like and what you know is good for you to eat and what you enjoy. So
well, we could find all the cheeses that you mentioned, and so now we know where they're sourced in Atlanta. That first one from Mount Tamalpais, and we've been to San Francisco in that area, so we know where to find that here in Atlanta.
Oh, good. And it sounds like you know how to pronounce the mountain, which I do not know how to pronounce.
Well, only because we've been there. Oh,
good. Okay, cool. Well, now I know for the next time I do one of these. So whoever is listed as iPad, I'm not sure I understand your question. I think there might have been a typo. If you want to just read.
I think that they were talking about Vichy as the producer.
Yes.
Yeah. So this wine that I know of is available locally at Oakley Wines.
Great.
They had it by the glass for a while, and also available for retail.
Cool. We have a couple bottles left too. I'm not sure how many, maybe like 5 or 6, but if you want one, we can save them for you.
Yeah. Also, Jordan has all of these wines that we have tonight. If you want additional, they could be purchased through her as well.
Yeah. Let's see. We bought our cheeses, so we needed to order like a decent amount of all these. So we got them from Creation Gardens, which is a local like restaurant wholesale purveyor. Some of them are available by the pound. So if you have a hard time finding them, let me know and I might be able to order them for you. In Chicago, Fair Acres with a great cheese selection. Awesome. You know, one of my favorite places to buy cheese, and they do a big mail order business, is Zingerman's in Ann Arbor. If anyone's ever been there or heard of it, it's like I'm from Toledo originally, so not too far from Ann Arbor, and that's like one of my favorite places in the whole world. Wonderful cheese selection, and they've started their creamery where they make a lot of their own cheeses now too, and a lot of them are really fantastic. Oh yeah, the Divina fig spread is awesome. What other questions does anyone have? I think we're kind of like at time. I don't know what time we were supposed to end. I just kind of went with it. But so if you have to log off, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are in Cincinnati, Tablespoon will be moving in about a month. So we will be moving into a brand new storefront Still located at Findlay Market. Some of you saw it today. It has the big pink and yellow signs on the windows. It's fully under construction. It's supposed to be done a month from today. We'll see if that happens. But we will be moving in there in late May, early June. So we hope you'll come see us for a class. Hopefully we can do an in-person UnCorked event there. Virtual is not going away, so we'll keep doing that. And TJ is going to be doing selecting all of our wines for us, so you know they're going to be good. And we'll have a bigger retail selection of wine as well, and be able to do like tastings and events and really fun things. So we hope you'll come see us there as well. Please tag us in photos. We would love to see. I know, thank you guys for sharing the ones here, but we'd love to see more. And I'll stay on for a while too to answer questions or talk to anyone. I don't have to go anywhere. I just want to be conscious of other people's time. Lauren or Jen, did you guys want to say anything else at the end here? Or?
No, just really wanted to thank everyone for joining us this evening. This is something very different than what we've done, what I believe in person, and even what we've done virtually. So we're glad you all were able to join us this evening. And thank you, Jordan, so much for guiding us through this. It's always great to partner with you. Next month on Tuesday, May 25th, UnCorked is going to be partnering with the College of Arts and Sciences Alumni Network group for a virtual tasting with Revel OTR. So be on the lookout for those details as well in the post-event email that's going to be sent within the next few days.
Cool. Oh, thanks, Lisa. How's our birthday girl doing? Is she enjoying the wine and the cheese? I hope so. Oh, great. She's doing great. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Feel free to hang out for a little bit, you know, ask any questions. Let me know what pairings you liked from the board or how everything turned out. We've got.
I'd be really curious to know if anyone had a favorite cheese and wine pairing. Just share it in the chat or open it up. I'd love to hear what your feedback is.
TJ, I have a question for you. Do you have like 2 or 3 like of your ultimate favorite like cheese and wine pairings, like style of wine and style of cheese, or specifically?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that because I didn't know if it was.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have any.
Yeah. Okay, so I love any kind of blue or veiny cheese with Sauterne or port. If you have a sweeter wine. I love buffalo mozzarella with any kind of Italian rosé, something kind of really milky and light and really fresh. And then, you know, what is it? The capricorn cheese that we had today is one of my absolute favorites. And, you know, I think that that's great with rosé as well, especially from Provence. You know, Herbe de Provence is on the outside, and this is like absolutely beautiful. You get the lavender and, you know, the orange zest, all of these kind of flavors that really brighten up the wine. And, you know, the wine and cheese together, it's all about being harmonious. So, you know, if something is really kind of, you know, really delicate, you want a delicate wine. If you want something that is like a little bit more powerful, like a blue cheese, something kind of sweet to offset it is also really nice. So yeah, that would be my top 3.
I'm like craving all of those now that you mentioned that. We can do the rosé and the Juliana, but I'm like, oh, I want some blue cheese and sauternes, or, you know, it sounds great. Oh, Corky liked the red with the lamb chopper. Oh yeah, nice.
Hi everyone. I'm Victoria. I do work at the Alumni Association. So full disclosure, I'm here with Miss Betty, and it is her birthday coming up on Friday. So she just wanted to say hello. We have a crown for her. Do you want to wave?
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And this made me feel like queen for the day, with all my grandchildren here and my dachshunds on top of it. Even the napkin had dachshunds.
Oh my God.
we did. And now you can hear them. They're saying hello. So happy to be here. So very happy.
Happy birthday and thanks for celebrating with us.
Jordan, can I ask a question? Would it be possible for the people here to get the information about the different cheeses? So I was trying to take a picture of the stickers, but I ripped one of them. But I'm interested in the different kinds of milks and all of that you had on the notes.
Yeah, totally. I think I don't have everyone's email, but I know Lauren does. So
yeah,
I have like notes that I typed up earlier, so I can maybe like clean them up a little bit and then send them to you guys for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jordan, if you want to send them to me, I can include them in the post-event email that we'll send.
Oh, perfect. Yeah,
yep.
That would be great. And if anyone's interested, you know, in our other classes or more of our classes, you can sign up for our email list on our website. We do have, if anyone has kids, we have some cool kids classes coming up and a kids camp coming up in our new space, and then tons of both in-person and virtual will be continuing. But I can definitely send the info about the cheeses and some suggestions on where you can get them and all that. Great. Any other questions or anything I can help with? I guess this probably feeds more than two. I think we were a little, you know, you got to do it right. You can't just
the cheeses too. The rest you can
invite
other people.
Yeah, I wasn't just gonna give you like 2 strawberries or something, right? That wouldn't. You want it to look good. Great. Anyone have any other wine questions for TJ or any questions? Okay.
You know, I'll just say, you know, Jordan was speaking about her grand opening. We will be doing some wine events there, and she will also have retail sales. So we're really excited about that. And then, you know, as we continue to do virtual events in combination with in-person, you'll be able to purchase the wines there as well, which is really exciting.
Yes, we are very excited for that. We've our current location, there is the selling retail wine is very challenging, so we don't do a ton of it. And we will have a full liquor license at our new space. So we've got a lot of cool ideas for like food focus, like tastings and pairings and classes. If there's anything you guys like wine, I know you guys are everyone here is into wine, at least to an extent. So if you have ideas for like what you'd like to learn or classes or programming you'd like to see, we would love to hear your ideas, because we're going to be doing some cool stuff.
So the only suggestion I would make, this was fantastic, and I thank you for doing this. One thing that Gail and I have done in the past, and we would love to do again, is a component tasting.
Oh.
Where you really kind of get to taste each of the different components to a wine. And so you begin to understand the kind of the contribution that each one makes to the overall flavor, what part of the tongue, you know, that each one of the components, you know, you taste, and it's a tremendously useful kind of educational opportunity to learn about and develop an appreciation for wines.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love doing that. We did that. I had to take a beverage class in culinary school, and they had us do that. And we even did things like a dry tea bag in our mouth, like to learn about like tannin and astringency and like bitter. And that like stuck with me. I don't remember all the pairings we did, but it really helped you learn like what a bad pairing is, or like a bad pairing for you, just because you don't enjoy it. So great suggestion. I think
that's something Jordan and I had talked about, is kind of like a wine 101 class with some foods that she would be pairing. So we can really dive down and explore, you know, the different attributes of wine. We would love to do something like that.
TJ, it looks like Jim and Pat are asking wine pairings for dates like the fruit.
Yeah, so a lot of dates are grown in North Africa. So I think that the wines from Sicily would be great. So we're talking about from Mount Etna, the volcanic region, which is really a boat ride from North Africa, right? So if you have Etna Rosso or Etna Bianco would be great. If you have any kind of Italian red would be delicious, or white wine. Best grocery store dry rosé. You know, I think that you may have heard of Gerard Bertrand. There has like a little glass stopper in it. This is available really everywhere. Even at Walgreens, I've seen it. I've been to these vineyards, and I will say that they are farmed biodynamically, even though they're mass produced. They have the true heart of Provence in them, and you really can't go wrong.
TJ, what's the deal with Whispering Angel? Why do so many? I don't think I've ever had it, but I feel like people are like into it. Is it?
Yeah, you know, there's like in the wine world, there's like always a cult following for some things, and this rosé is kind of has a catchy name. It's Pinot Noir rosé from California. That is low production, and that obviously drives the price up. So when everyone wants something, that's kind of you know, what makes the price go up. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think that there is a lot of great Pinot Noir rosé. Red Car, if you've ever heard of that, that's available at some local wine shops. That's a really cool, like beautiful kind of rainbow label on it. Is a great Pinot Noir rosé as well. Not one that I sell, but one of my favorites.
There we go. Jerry asked about the rosé. I'm not sure what the question was exactly. But if you want to, oh, they're coming over. They're unmuting. Or typing. There we go. And we also have a question about your favorite Super Tuscan.
Oh, that's a really hard. You know, certainly one of the most classic would be a wine called Tiganello from Antinori, maybe the first one. But I also love the wine called Ateo from Chachi Piccolomini. This has got, it means actually atheist in Italian, and they were the first winery in Montalcino, which is where Brunello is made, to plant Bordeaux varietal. So this is a blend of 50% Cabernet Sauvignon and 50% Merlot. It has an orange label. It's available at Forno in Hyde Park. It's available at Unwine Wine Bar. It's available at Pepin Dolores. It's one of my favorites. Sure, I'll put my email in the chat. Absolutely, my work email here.
And then do we have any, TJ, do you have any Ohio wine recommendations? Or what was that wine a couple years ago that scored like the highest from up by like Cleveland or something? Do you remember that? It won some competition. I don't know.
You know, to be honest, in my portfolio, I don't represent any wineries in Ohio, but I will say probably the closest winemaking region that you can maybe drive to in vacation that is got world-class wines would be the Finger Lakes of New York, which is probably only about a 6 to 7 hour drive from Cincinnati. And they are making world-class Riesling there, also world-class Pinot Noir and Cabernet Franc. This is, you know, classic limestone soil, a great climate, and is one of the most exciting winemaking regions close to Cincinnati, in my opinion.
I grew up in the Finger Lakes region in upstate New York, and I can only reinforce that comment.
Oh, cool. If you are interested in like a very local wine, if you do next month's event with Revel makes wine in the basement of their location right here in OTR. So you'd be able to try some very local wines.
Yep, and for that event, we'll do a red, a white, and a rosé as well.
Cool. Did you get a question from the Jerry family? All right. thanks everyone. We'll give it a minute or two if anyone has any last questions.
Just want to give an extra special thanks to Jordan and TJ and Lauren who pulled this all together for us. I know I got some credit earlier, but really she deserves it. I kind of got the easy job of showing up and saying welcome. So if you all are interested in getting more involved, or if you have ideas about, future events or establishments that you think we should partner with, you can talk to Lauren and the committee will consider that. So we're always looking for ideas and volunteers, and we'd love for you to be more engaged with UnCorked. And I think there was a question about how to get more involved. And now that you have attended, if you haven't before, you'll start to get all of the information, and there will be a follow-up email that will come your way. So you can be in direct contact with Lauren, and or you should start receiving all the information about UnCorked from this point forward.
Ooh,
Thanks, Jen.
A wine trip. Love that idea. I don't want to lead it. I don't want to be in charge. I just want to attend.
We've talked about it before. A lot of logistics involved with that.
I bet. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Go Bearcats.
Thank you, Jordan.
See a couple of those.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks to you and your team. This has been great.
Can't wait for the next one. Let's get another one on the schedule. Maybe both in person and virtual.
We'll keep doing them.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, have a great night, everyone. Don't drink all your wine tonight, or do it. Maybe you work from home tomorrow and it won't be a problem. But we'll see everyone soon, and email us with any questions.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.